What's up, guys? Got a new video today. It's a little bit different video. Doesn't involve showing silver or mail or anything of that sort, but it does involve a lot of math. And the question that often gets asked is how to solve for GSR. GSR being the gold to silver ratio. Now, there's many ways we can go at this. Today I chose to use fish math to solve for GSR. Now, fish math is a style of math. It's taught by the Russians in what I believe late 80s, early 90s, and it allows huge math problems to be solved with a plus or minus 5 or 10% close enough answer. And as long as you round up or down and have a number close enough to the exact answer, it is correct. So now that we know how fish math works, we're going to solve for GSR. And the simplest way I know how to do this is to first use the XY axis and solve for slope. So we have our graph drawn right here, and we're going to solve for X and Y, and then we're going to use our slope formula right here. And X is the intercept point where a line crosses the X-axis, which is right here. And Y is the intercept point where a line crosses the Y-axis here. Okay. The first thing we need to do is put a value for X. X represents gold. Because if you're pirate, he buries his treasure gold and marks it the spot with an X. To do that, we need a quadratic equation. Now, I just happen to pick a random quadratic equation out of the sky because you can. Now, how do we solve quadratic equations? Well, the quadratic formula, obviously. Duh. So, if you all remember Algebra 2, which I do, and the teacher made you memorize the quadratic formula, even though you had it written on your hand, we got it right here. And we need to solve for A, B, and C. We actually need to know what those are. Now, A being this first letter, B being this, and C is our constant term, obviously. Now, what I did was, to speed things up, I went ahead and plugged all of those numbers into the equation. And when you solve all that, we don't need to go over the math. We come up with X is $1,823. That's about what I figured gold is. Now, we need to solve for Y. Y represents silver. And why does it represent silver? Because we need to ask ourselves, why, as in why do we care? Well, the answer is simple. We are stackers and collectors. So, I wrote that in this y-intercept of a parabola. Now, as you can see, this is in factor form. Can't have that. We need to expand into standard form. This is going to make our task much easier. And we do that by the distributive property, which is this times this, this times this, and then this times this, and this times this, which gives us the answer for Y, which is $20.74. Okay, now that we have our X and our Y, we can plug that in to our graph. So we said X is around 1800, somewhere in here, and Y is somewhere around 20. We're just going to go ahead and connect the dots. Now, we can assume that this is a right angle, which makes this a triangle. Now, here's where we have to switch from algebra to geometry. Now, if you watched Mo Stack's video right after the Super Bowl, he said fiat, which is money, is just triangles. Now, a triangle triangle is a polygon with 3 edges and 3 verticals. Now we need to switch to this graph right here with our triangle. Got it drawn up right now. To solve the triangle, we need to use the Pythagorean theorem, of course. This describes the relationship among the sides of a right triangle. In any right triangle, the sum of the area of the square formed on the legs of the triangle equals the area of the square formed on the hypotenuse. Thus, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're going to go ahead and fill in our numbers that we found out earlier, which is gold and silver, which is right here, and b squared, he has 227 subs. So when you put all that together, you have to throw in a 2 is 1, account for 365 days of silver, give your plus or minus 5 or 10%, and you come up with 1 ounce of gold is equal to 87.897, repeating, of course, ounces of silver. So I hope I broke it down into layman's terms. If you have any questions, hit me up. But that is how you find 1 ounce of gold to how many ounces of silver using fish math.